Dr. S.I.F. Philomen Raj, MSc, MPhil PhD, retired Head Department of Physics, Madras Christian College, Tambaram, Chennai. He is presently serving as a guest lecturer in Loyola College, Nungambakkam, Chennai. He has a teaching experience of 35 years in Madras Christian College for UG and PG students. His field of research is nuclear physics, and he has presented about 30 papers in symposia organized by Baba Atomic Research Center, Mumbai. He has guided 50 MPhil students and about 100 MSc students in their projects. He has authored practical physics books for MSc and BSc courses. He is presently engaged in writing a book on nuclear physics for Printhias Hall, India.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in physics. We shall continue with the nuclear and particle physics. So, this class we can be discussing about the nuclear reactions, compound nucleus formation, direct reactions, cross sections. Nuclear reactions we already started, we will just go into still more detail. So, the nuclear reactions, just to give a background, we said a chemical reaction involves electrons. A nuclear reaction will involve neutron and proton. So, in a nuclear reaction the nucleus will change. In a chemical reaction the nucleus will not change. Here the nucleus changes, maybe oxygen becomes nitrogen, and so the nucleus itself will be changing. So, here we have types of reactions. One is via compound nucleus formation, the other one is a direct reaction. So, when you say compound nucleus formation, see when the neutron, for example, if you take a neutron which is bombarding the target, so it bombards the target, if it is coming slowly then it can get embedded and it forms a compound system, that is called compound nucleus. After some time this particle will de-excite. So, this is called compound nucleus formation. Just to give you a background, when you say direct, suppose the same neutron comes very fast, then there is no time for the compound nucleus formation. The particle comes, hits, goes out. So, that is direct reaction. So, this is the background for. So, when it is the incident energy is slow, the incident particle has got low energy, compound nucleus will be more possible, and if it is fast moving, then it is a direct reaction is possible. Now, we will just go into, as we said, compound nucleus and direct reaction. We will go to the compound nucleus first. So, suppose we take nitrogen 714 as the heavier nucleus is target. Alpha is a lighter particle, so that is the incident particle. So, the alpha particle bombards the nitrogen 714. This alpha particle gets embedded and it becomes 18, that is mass number 18, and the atomic number is 9. So, 918. So, F918, nitrogen and alpha particle, that is helium, together become now fluorine, F918. And this is not going to be stable, it will be, this is called compound nucleus. So, in all nuclear physics journals, when you find a nucleus within this square bracket, it means it is a compound nucleus. It is not a stable nucleus, it is a compound nucleus compounded by this and this. So, we get this, and after some time this fluorine F918 will disintegrate, it will emit one proton, and what the resulting nucleus will be OH17. So, this is a nuclear reaction via compound nucleus formation, via, that is through compound nucleus formation. So, here this bracket represents the compound nucleus. You know, this is one example. If you take any compound nucleus reaction, the compound nucleus will be represented by square bracket. Now, what we understand is the mode of decay is independent of mode of formation. See, the compound nucleus in the example that we have cited, F918, that compound nucleus can be formed in many ways. This one, this is not the only way it can be formed, this plus this or something else plus something else, that will also give this F918. And the mode of decay, it can decay in this fashion. So, the mode of decay is independent of formation. Once it is formed, the decay is decided only by the compound nucleus, not by the, it forgets the how it was formed, it decays in its own fashion. That is what we mean by saying the mode of decay is independent of mode of formation, because it is entirely different nucleus. Now, lifetime of Cn decides the decay. So, what decides the decay? The lifetime of Cn. So, that compound Cn, that Cn is nothing but compound nucleus. So, when the compound nucleus it has got its own lifetime depending on the energy levels it is having. So it will decide, depending on that it will decay, and the lifetime of the compound nucleus is greater than nuclear transit time. That is, alpha particle is bombarding nitrogen 7. So the nitrogen 7 has got some radius. So the incident particle will go through the radius of the target nucleus, and that is called transit time. The time required to move through the diameter, that is called transit time. The nuclear transit time, what will be that roughly? So because the nuclear radius will be in Fermi. So we have just written 10 power minus 15. We are more interested only in the order. The diameter is in Fermi. So 10 power minus 15 meter. And the denominator, this is time. So this is distance by velocity. So the velocity with which it may be coming will be about 10 power 7 meter per second. We have just say the velocity of light is 10 power 8. So here we are just writing it 10 times lower. So this is the transit time. This is a distance diameter by the velocity with which the particle roughly it comes, order. So this become 10 power minus 15 meter by 10 power 7 meter per second becomes 10 power minus 22 second. So this is the transit time. The nucleus, the incident particle will take 10 power minus 22 second to cross, whereas the lifetime of the compound nucleus is 10 power minus 15 second, which means this is way much larger. So it should have 10 power minus 22 second, it should have crossed, but this incident particle which entered the nucleus, we expect it to cross, it is not coming out, it is staying there for much longer time. Instead of 10 power minus 22 second, it is coming only after 10 power minus 15 second. So taking a longer time to come, which means compound nucleus is formed. That is why you say compound nucleus is formed. So the lifetime of compound nucleus is 10 power minus 15 second. So already what we said is mode of decay is independent of mode of formation. So here suppose I take copper 63 and it is bombarded by proton. So this proton has got mass number 1, so it will get embedded, it will become 64, it will become zinc. So the copper has become zinc now, because the copper has got atomic number 28, copper 29 and zinc 30. So this proton, when it is added up, this atomic number increases from 29, it becomes 30. We have written the element, there is no need to write the atomic number. So that copper 63 has become zinc 64, and that is not the only way of producing zinc. Even alpha particle, if you bombard alpha particle on nickel 60, alpha particle has got mass number 4. So 60 plus 4, it will become 64, and the alpha particle has got atomic number 2, and the nickel has got atomic number 28. So 2 plus 28, 30. So this is one way of formation of zinc 64. This is another way of formation of zinc 64. Once it is formed, the zinc will have its own way of decaying. We are just stressing this to say the first point. Mode of decay is independent of mode of formation. So this zinc has been formed in 2 different waves, but that zinc will be decaying in its own fashion. So it will forget how it was formed. So the decay of zinc 64 is independent of the mode of formation. Now that is about the compound nucleus formation. Now direct reaction. As we said, direct reaction, there is no compound nucleus. The nucleus is there, the incident particle comes, it just only the transit time 10 power minus 2 to 10 second. It goes, does something and comes out. So there is no intermediate nucleus formed. So any direct reaction proceeds without formation of compound nucleus. So in the example what we have given, we wrote that nitrogen plus alpha gives the fluorine. Within square bracket we wrote that is the compound nucleus. Now there is no compound nucleus. At low energy, formation of CN is more likely. As we said, how to visualize that, how to understand the experimental observation. So when the nucleus is low energy, it can absorb. So it's like a catch. It can catch that. When the incident particle is there, it will get embedded into the target. It forms a compound nucleus. Slow, it can decay. When you are bombarding very fast, there is no time for any catch. It is not able to catch anything. Therefore, we are getting direct reaction. So at low energy, this is what they observed experimentally, and this is the explanation we give. At low energy, the capture is better. It will be able to capture to form a compound nucleus. So, at low energy formation of compound nucleus is more likely, and at high energy direct reactions that becomes prominent at high energy direct reaction. So, how do you know it is a direct reaction is occurring? So, here this two people scientists Oppenheimer and Phillips, they were the first people to observe a direct reaction. See, if it is a compound nucleus, what they observed is normally we have got the target, incident particle is coming, it will form a compound nucleus. Once the compound nucleus is formed, it forgets how it is formed. Therefore, what will happen? This fellow, the compound nucleus, can emit any particle it will emit depending on what nucleus it is. It can emit a particle, suppose it is emitting proton, it can emit in this direction, any direction it can emit. Therefore, we get angular distribution. We will have, if you have a detector, this is the target compound nucleus reaction, target is here, detector is here, you take the detector everywhere keeping same distance, you will find that there is a distribution of particles everywhere when it is coming slowly. Now, some reactions Oppenheimer and Phillips, they found that most of the particles, the resulting particles only in the forward direction. Here there is no angular distribution forward. Why? Because we get the particle is coming, compound nucleus is not formed. So, it is like a very fast moving ball, comes here, hits, goes in the same direction. So, more likely they will go in the same direction because they are very high energy. So, they do not get scattered easily, they do not get absorbed easily. So, directly we get. So, all the direct reactions will have angular distribution of products peaked in forward direction. So, if you have a detector only in the forward direction, more of the particles will be detected, whereas in the compound nucleus formation we will get angular distribution. Now, what are the types of direct reactions? See, there are 4 types of direct reactions. We call it a stripping reaction, a pickup reaction, knock-on reaction and surface reaction. So, once we explain, we will be able to understand why these words come up that way. Say, suppose I have got deuteron. What is deuteron? Deuteron is neutron plus proton. That structure is called deuteron. In other words, it is one isotope of hydrogen. Hydrogen is H11, deuteron is H12, that is it has got atomic number same, that charge is equal to 1, but it has got mass number twice. So, it has got one extra neutron. So, neutron proton system is called deuteron, neutron proton system is called deuteron. So, this deuteron enters the direct, this is for direct ray, enters fast, enters the target. What will happen once it enters, there is every possibility that because the deuteron is a loosely bound system, the neutron and proton are not well bound, they are loosely bound. So, it will catch up, this target nucleus will catch one, it will either catch the neutron or the proton. The deuteron is having NP system, NNP, it can either catch proton leaving the neutron or catch neutron proton leaving the other one. So, it is called, when the particle is coming, it is stripping one particle, one of the nucleon is stripped, it can strip the neutron or it can strip the proton. Therefore, we call it a stripping reaction. The incident is deuteron, outgoing particle is neutron, which means what is stripped off? The proton is embedded into the target nucleus. Here the incident particle is deuteron and the outgoing particle is proton. So, what is eaten away? The neutron gets embedded in the target nucleus. So, this is called stripping reaction. Just example, we can have other like alpha also you can write. So, here we have just for simplicity we written dN and dP reaction. The other one is pickup reaction. See, same thing, suppose the incident particle is proton, we have got a target nucleus, proton is coming very fast, then what will happen is this proton as it comes, it will pick up on neutron and come out. So, it is like a thief, it comes there, it picks up on particle, that is called pickup. So, it will the proton is only one nucleon, proton will pick up a neutron and comes as a deuteron, or if the incident particle is neutron which is coming, it will pick up one proton, come out as a deuteron. So, what is entering is only one nucleon, what comes out is 2 nucleon. So, it is able to pick up one from the target, thereby the target will change. The target, there is a nuclear transmutation occurring in the target. So, we get a pickup reaction P comma D. Incident particle is proton and the outgoing particle is deuteron. Here incident particle is neutron, outgoing particle is deuteron. So, in this case, the first case, the incident proton has picked up a neutron from the target, and in the next case the neutron, incident neutron picks up a proton from the target. So, this is called pickup reaction. Now, you will be able to understand why the word comes out like pick up and stripping. Then the other one is a knock on reaction. So, next possibility is as the neutron comes, this neutron gets embedded and the proton goes out. We are sending a neutron, it gets embedded proton. It is like in a carom, you know, there are 2 coin, red coin and maybe 2 coins of equal mass. Then when you hit, this coin will stop, the other will move. That is called elastic collision. So, it will, this coin will stop, the other coin will move. So, here we get knock on reaction. The neutron comes, neutron gets, it hits one proton, that gets embedded because of the elastic collision, and the proton is ejected. Or if the incident particle is proton, the proton enters the system, hits one neutron, neutron comes out. So, this one stops, the other one, it's called elastic reactions. So, this is a knock on reaction. So, it is called knock on, this knocks the other fellow, neutron knocks a proton or proton knocks a neutron. So, this is NP, what you are sending is a neutron, but what is coming out is proton, and what you are sending is proton, what you are sending is neutron. So, how they observed all this? See, if you have a detector, you are sending a neutron. So, actually when you are having a detector, that should not detect any charge, but they found that you are sending a neutron, but the detector is showing a proton with a positive charge here. Similarly, you are sending a proton and what you expect is a detecting charge, but you find chargeless particle is being detected. Therefore, this is called knock on reaction. So, these things were all found out first by Oppenheimer and Phillips. And surface reaction. So, the last of the type of direct reactions will be surface reaction. Now, here we have got a target nucleus, the proton. Only when it enters deep, it can go and knock on neutron and come out as a different particle. Now, suppose this fellow is only brushing the target nucleus is there, it is on the surface, it is just brushing and going away. That is called surface reaction. In that case, it won't be able to enter the nucleus, it is only just touching the surface of the nucleus, thereby its energy alone decreases. The proton energy slightly, the kinetic energy will decrease depending on the energy with which it comes. Similarly, if you are sending a neutron, you will find a neutron coming out as a neutron with a decreased energy, that is called surface reaction. So, these are the types of direct reactions. So, we have just said about the types of nuclear reactions, that is via compound nucleus formation, that is for low energy, and via and direct reactions, which is for high energy incident particle. Now, we will just come to another important parameter when we deal with nuclear reactions. Say, when we are talking about a nuclear reaction, we want to know, suppose we are sending a beam of neutron and to the target, and what we are expecting is some isotope, some new isotopes. So, I want to know how many reactions will take place. For example, for a medical therapy, we need some cobalt 60 some more. So, we want to produce that. So, you should know how many hours you should run the machine. What machine? That is the beam, a neutron beam bombarding a target nucleus. How many minutes or how many days it has to run to get so many radioisotopes for medical or anything. For example, I am telling. So, there comes a parameter called cross section. So, we will just go into that. So, we are talking about the target nucleus, and this is the incident flux. Incident flux we call it as V, that is a neutron coming out with the incident flux. So, once it hits the target, it gets scattered through an angle theta, and here we are just writing as d omega. Say just what is that d omega? The detector will have some window, say it will have a area. The detector is not a tiny particle, tiny thing. So it will have a window where the particles are getting, like a camera window we have got. So you take that window, from there you draw a line. So it will be a cone. This is from the nucleus. From the nucleus we are going to the window. This will be a cone, that is called solid angle, because it is like a conical shape. So this is the window, surface window, which is not a tiny particle, it is having a surface area. This is the target. From the target you draw a line up to the edge of the window, everywhere you draw, then it will be a circle. So it will be a cone. So any particle which enters that which is in the cone will be detected. That is called solid angle. Solid angle d omega. Planar angle is in 2 dimensional. Solid angle is 3 dimensional. It will be conical shape. So the neutron beam is bombarding the target nucleus, as we have shown here, and the neutron can be scattered or absorbed. So once it comes there, enters the nucleus, it will be either scattered. When it is scattered, only energy is lost, or it can be absorbed. When it is absorbed, the nucleus will change. It will form a common nucleus, or the nucleus, the target itself will change. The target nucleus will change when it is absorbed. So the ns theta d omega, say what we are writing as ns theta d omega, number of neutrons scattered through an angle theta, this is the angle theta, through an angle theta into the solid angle d omega, that is into the solid angle d omega, will be proportional to d omega and v. So the incident flux is there, and this is the angle theta, we get theta, and this is d omega, as we already explained. That will be the d omega will be decided by the size of the detector. And then what we observe here is the ns is number of neutrons scattered into the angle theta within the solid angle d omega is proportional d omega. Size of the detector, large, very big detector, will have more particles entering. So it will depend on that, and also it will depend on the flux. What is that flux? We did not talk about flux. Flux is nothing but number of particles crossing per unit area per second, that is called flux. And this ns theta d omega, here we have written proportionality, we go to equal to sigma s. So that proportionality constant is called scattering cross section. This is the proportionality constant. And what we observe here is this one on the left side, ns of theta d omega, it is nothing but number scattered per second. So this is 1 by second. Now you come to right side. Right side, this d omega, it's dimensionless only, because it's only solid angle. So here, what is this v? V is flux. We have stated that it is number crossing per unit area per second. So this flux is number crossing per unit area per second. This is number per second. Therefore, this should have dimension of area. So this proportionality constant has got dimension of area, and therefore it is called cross section. So the cross section flux is v is number per unit area per second, ns is number scattered per second. Therefore sigma s as unit will have dimension area, and therefore it is called cross section. Now this similarly we said about scattering. Similarly, when you go to reaction, again this nr is proportional to, we get nr proportional to v, and nr is equal to sigma rv, as very similar to what we discussed for scattering, and this sigma r is called reaction cross section. So the nr gives the reaction rate, how many reactions will take place. So here we will just say, we said about sigma r, what will be the expression for sigma r? There must be some equation where we, once you know that, we will be able to decide how many reactions will take place for a given time, because we are interested in experimentally finding out how many reactions will take place maybe for a production of radioisotopes. Now here nuclear radius, nucleus of radius r as target pi r squared. So nucleus, if we take radius r, that area will be pi r squared. Why it is pi r squared? We should not consider the total surface area. It is only once, as we look from here, Like when you look at the moon has got a surface area 4 pi r squared but what is exposed to us? Only pi r squared, because the radius of the moon is r, and what is exposed, the light that is exposed to us will be pi r squared. So that is called geometrical cross section. So the nuclear radius has got a target area pi r squared. The geometrical cross section is pi r squared for an incident particle. Therefore, we call that cross section sigma equal to pi r squared. Now we will go into this in detail later. Now here we will just work out just example. Suppose the radius is, we know that radius is r equal to r naught a power 1 by 3. So let us take r naught equal to 1.4 Fermi. So that can be varying from 1.2 to 1.4 Fermi. So here we are taking radius constant to be 1.4. Suppose the target has got a equal to 100, then you just work out sigma equal to pi r squared. This is pi r squared, we are written as a power 1 by 3, 100 power 1 by 3 into that r naught 1.4 and 10 power minus 15, that is pi r squared. So we get meter squared. So if you work out this comes out to be 1.3 into 10 power minus 28. So why we are just telling this 10 power minus 28 meter squared is called Born. So in all nuclear journals, when you say Born, it means it is 10 power minus 28 meter squared. That is the cross sectional area. Geometrical, it's called geometrical cross section. 1.3, here in this case is 1.3, 1.3 into 10 power minus 28, 10 power minus 28 is called Born. Now what is the probability of hitting the target? We are talking about a target nucleus. Maybe we are talking about a metal sheet which is a target. We can't take a single nucleus and have a target. So you have a metal sheet which is having lot of nuclei. In between the nuclei there will be electrons, they are all well spaced. So each nucleus is well spaced. In between two nuclei we have got lot of electrons there. Therefore we can put a picture this way. So this is the sheet, target sheet, and we have got nuclei. Each nucleus already what we have stated is pi r squared. So each one is having pi r squared. In between this is empty space, empty in the sense there is no nucleus, it is only electrons. So pi r squared. Now what is the probability? So when you are sending a proton, there is a probability is this proton, whatever you send, it can go in between the two. It can escape between the two target nucleus. Metal sheet, it may look like metal sheet, but it may not exactly enter the nucleus. It may enter some between two nuclei, it will enter the electron cloud and come out. Therefore, what is the probability? The probability of hitting the target is proportional to target area. This is pi r squared. Total area is A, maybe the metal sheet total area, and each one is having pi r squared. There will be maybe n nucleus, so n pi r squared. So we find that the probability is proportional to sigma, proportional to pi r squared. Therefore, we can say pi r squared for high energy incident particles. So we can safely write the cross section sigma equal to pi r squared for high energy incident particle. See, if it is a low energy, as you enter it may get scattered. So the probability will be different. Now when it is high incident energy, then it will be within the radius. So we get sigma equal to pi r squared for high incident particles, because already we have stated direct reactions high incident energy, forward peak we will get. So most of the particles will be in the forward direction. Suppose you have got a metal disc of radius r and you throw light, suppose, and then we get dispersed. Now we can summarize what we have done. So we have discussed the types of nuclear reactions and obtained expression for geometrical cross section, and we have just worked out one small problem stating about the bonds, and we will be in the next section we can go for Q value of a reaction. And a few questions for the day. Explain combonuclease reaction with an example. What are direct reactions? And list out the types of direct reactions. Show how radius reaction is proportional to probability of reaction. So we will continue later. Thank you.